Welcome back to the Holistic Speaker Training. I'm Seth Braun. This is video number 9 in the second series of 10 videos, or video number 19. And in video number 19, you're going to learn, should I memorize my talk, or should my talk be impromptu, or should my talk be prepared or extemporaneous? Now, in this second half, the second series of 10, we're pulling back the curtain on questions you should be asking yourself that you might not consider. I've actually been asked this question a few times, but this is one of the insights into the speaker's mind that you might not consider. We're going to show you how this is really a developmental stage. It's not an either or. But first, before we get into that, let's look at the difference between prepared and extemporaneous. A prepared talk has a lot of benefits. It's concise, it can be very powerful, and it can be deliberate. And by deliberate, I mean it can take your audience on a journey. You can prepare the talk or the presentation to have predictable emotional turns, to draw them in, to develop intimacy. In fact, I've studied with teachers that have showed me how the words can be whittled down to the point where it's so powerful and precise and concise that half-hour keynote really is worth $5,000, $7,000, $10,000, because the amount of information and emotion and energy conveyed in a few sentences is worth an hour of blabber from an inexperienced or unprofessional communicator. I'm reminded of a story. Actually, it's not a story, it's an interview between Howard Stern and Jerry Seinfeld. Howard Stern is asking Jerry Seinfeld how he comes up with his material. And there are two parts to the story. The first part is Jerry's answer about how he's always thinking about material and how does this drive your wife crazy and doesn't it drive you crazy? And you're going to hear about that in the next video. I can't give that part away. It's really good, so stay tuned. The second part of his answer to Howard Stern on how do you generate material, he says, I'll spend hours crafting 2 sentences, 10 or 20 seconds of my routine, just so it pops and it just grabs the audience. And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about the value of a prepared speech. Now, there's value to an extemporaneous speech as well. It can be dynamic, it can be engaged and interactive. It's about having a relationship with the audience and having that flow as a facilitator. Because facilitation and facilitating experience is one of the outcomes that the audience is looking for in this age of digital and social media. You're watching this video right now, you still crave that live experience. You might have all the music you want, but you still might love going to see live music. Likewise, you want to go see people speak because it's the experience that they're creating. It's that dynamic, interactive play between the speaker and the audience. And a great speaker is also a great facilitator of energy for the audience, and they can dance and play and adjust the energy of the audience, and they can create this beautiful symphony of experience on a subtle plane. So that's the value of being able to speak extemporaneously. It's not just speaking, it's about being extemporaneous. And there's a downside, though, to a prepared talk. And the downside is it can be dry, it can be disconnected, and it can sometimes just not fit. And that might be showing up to speak. I remember speaking at my graduation from Naropa University. There were many graduation speakers. I'd created this great speech. You know, I was a performing arts major, and I had eloquent things to say. And I got up on stage, and it had been long, and the audience was tired, and it was hot, and the air conditioning wasn't working. And I realized I had to just give it up. Give up the whole prepared speech and just say, I had a speech prepared. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to give these awards. How's that sound? And the audience cheered and they clapped. And I knew that I had to mix it up. So if I had stuck with what was prepared, it wouldn't fit. And likewise, an extemporaneous speech also has a downside. You can get lost on a tangent. your words can be tepid. They can just lose energy and power because there's a lot of mumbling or filler words or just blabber. It can fizzle out because there's no real direction to it. There hasn't been the thought put into where you're going with this. And as I promised, I'd demonstrate for you how it's not really either or, but it's a developmental model, because when you're first beginning as a speaker, you really need to learn how to do a prepared speech. And you've learned that in this, I believe it was video number 3, how to outline a talk. And you just got to learn to play the chords. You know, as a musician, I can't be extemporaneous. I can't riff unless I've learned to do the basics. Chords, scales. Then, once I learn those, I can begin to experiment. That's phase 2, begin to experiment with being extemporaneous. Have your outline and let aspects of your talk be more free-flowing. And then level 3 is that really you're able to pick and choose when you want to be extemporaneous and when you want to prepare. And you're equally comfortable with both, and both will be powerful. And in fact, all of these videos that you've watched have been extemporaneous. Everything that you've seen in this entire 19 video series up to this point hasn't been scripted, hasn't been memorized. It's been off the cuff, but I've been speaking for 15 years professionally. And not only have I been speaking for 15 years, I've been teaching this material for the last 5 years. So this is a level 3. You know, I'm operating out of a choice. I'm operating out of experience. I have these things already conceived in my mind. I know what to articulate. So I'm operating here, and you can too. It's just a matter of getting used to your material, communicating your material regularly, speaking regularly, and this leads us perfectly into the final video of the series, video number 10. The question you should be asking yourself that you may not be considering is, how do I become a master communicator? How do I become masterful? Stay tuned for video number 10. I can't wait to share it with you.